The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good day, everyone. MBA Women International is pleased to present this webinar entitled Social Media and You. It's more than just saying I do. My name is Hannah. I'll be your moderator for this session. Please note that today's call is being recorded and all participant lines will be muted during this broadcast. If you need assistance at any time today, please email us at webinars@mbawomen.org. This session will last 60 minutes and include a question and answer period at the end. However, feel free to pose a question at any time during today's presentation. You may enter a question by simply typing it into the question box on your control panel and then clicking the Send button. These instructions will be repeated later in the program. At this point, I would like to introduce today's speaker. Heather Taylor is a social media manager for mycorporation.com, freelance writer and blogger who writes and muses on social network, business, fashion, and the occasional combination of all three. She has had her written work published with Yahoo Shine, Forbes, Social Media Today, BettyConfidential.com, HelloGiggles.com, The Huffington Post, and more. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to you Heather Taylor. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Hannah. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for everybody for listening in. Today we are going to discuss in this webinar social media engagement and you. It's more than just saying I do. And I got the title, actually was inspired by the fact that recently on my own personal Facebook feed, I've had a lot of various friends of mine and connections that have been getting engaged and married. So I thought about it in business terms. Whenever it comes to a business, whenever they're deciding that they want to create a social media presence for themselves, or begin taking one that they may already have and just elaborating more on it and making it a more daily process for themselves, how they can say I do to the whole thing. Because once the honeymoon period is over, whenever you first have your initial pile of likes that come in, and you talk with some of your followers, but you're not really sure how you can keep up the relationship every single day and make it interesting and fun and engaging every day from here on out, this is what happens after that. So today we're going to talk a little bit about social media outlets that we're going to discuss for engagement are Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and the blogs. What to do whenever you've created your accounts, how to engage with each of these four, engagement turnoffs, and the ultimate question will be answered at the very end about what to do whenever your brand's pages are not growing fast enough. So to start off, we're going to explain a little bit about what social media is, and we're going to use donuts to do so. Basically, every outlet is different, and you always want to engage with every follower differently. You don't want to sit there and write the same sketch for every single outlet that you're writing with, because every site on social media is just they all have their own language. So whenever it comes to Twitter, you would hashtag the word donut, because then that would bring in the most people who are interested in donuts and want to find out more about donuts. And then that increases the amount of fans that you have of your page as well in the same process. For Facebook, you talk about I like donuts. That would inspire people to click like also if they like donuts. And leave a little comment beneath that status if they want to talk more about why they like donuts, what their favorite kind is, anything like that. And the same goes for all the other outlets. For Foursquare, this is where I eat the donuts. You would check in at a donut shop. For Instagram, you would take a picture of your donut, and it would be filtered and eventually liking. For YouTube, you would make a video of yourself eating a donut. It would probably be very creative and funny and maybe even go viral one day. For LinkedIn, your skills would include eating donuts, and you talk about exactly what makes those skills so valuable and different from everybody else. Pinterest, you would post a recipe for making a donut, and it would probably be really delicious with amazing pictures included, and you would get a lot of repins from that. For Last.fm, you're listening to a song about donuts. Google+, you've joined a circle of donut eating enthusiasts. And then for Reddit, there is a conspiracy around donut eating, and there seems to be. So for our next point, businesses know that they do need social media accounts. But why do they need them exactly? The first one, the biggest reason of all, is that Facebook is currently the most visited website of all the websites, period, right now. And that's funny because 4 years ago, believe it or not, Facebook didn't even rank in the top 10. So now it is the #1 social media platform and the most used and visited in the world right now. And 74% of consumers are on the site, and they rely on social media in general to make a purchasing decision. So you can definitely bet that Facebook is a very big part of that. The Facebook shares also have the greatest influence on Google search rankings in the United States. So whenever it comes to social media, you need to have a Facebook account. Whenever you start up a business, you need to at least have Facebook, if nothing else. That way you can increase your search rankings online, especially with Google. 53% of people now recommend companies and products on Twitter. And if your company is going to have a presence online, it's got to be on Facebook, it's got to be on Twitter, and it's got to be joining in that conversation, recommending and discussing the products that you have to offer. On YouTube, there's about 800 million active users, and they spend about 15 minutes every day on the site. And this includes a wide variety of brands and businesses that also are participating and have accounts there, and they upload videos regularly for everybody to watch, like, and share. The average consumer will mention brands about 90 times a week with their family, friends, and coworkers. So you really want to be on all these different sites if you want to have your brand also in that mix with every other one that's mentioned. And every day, there are about 5 million pictures that are uploaded to Instagram, and especially now more than ever because Instagram is synced up to Facebook and Twitter, and you can put all your pictures there as well as putting it through Instagram. Every month, the average user who has a Pinterest account spends about 90 minutes there, so it's about an hour and a half a month. It's a lot of likes, a lot of repins, a lot of different ways that you can get news and information about your brand out there. And then whenever it comes to checking your Facebook daily, 56% of people do that. That's well over half, so you want to make sure that your content that you post there is posted on a daily basis, and you don't want to overdo it or anything. About 2 to 3 times is what's recommended. But you do want to make sure that the content is consistently fresh and that it's very valuable to people who are checking out your account and tagging your page at the same time. Every second, there's about 120,000 tweets that are sent out. So if we're sending out that many tweets, you want to start conversations with people who have Twitter accounts. You want to start building relationships there as well by responding to tweets to your company account handle, and then retweeting out various tweets that you find interesting, as well as anything that mentions you and you're proud of that one, and favoriting anything that mentions your company that you really like. 64% of Twitter users and 51% of Facebook users are more likely to buy the products that they follow, of the brands that they follow online. So if you have accounts made with all these social media sites, then they're much more likely to respond and buy the brand that makes them feel special and talk about it and share the information with more people. Every day, the Google plus one button is used 5 billion times a day, and even though Google Plus is usually considered to be the more ignored platform, you just don't want to dismiss it and create an account with them as well. I may not talk a whole lot about Google Plus today, but it is very valuable to have because it's pretty easy to use and it does drive a lot of traffic over with the power of the Google search. For Pinterest, going back there again, 83% of the users on the site are women, and the most popular categories there include clothing, crafts, and food. So if you think about your demographic and who you're reaching out to and your targets do include women, food, or crafts, then you really want to be able to make sure that you have an account set up with Pinterest and that you're actively pinning there on a daily basis. Every week, 21 minutes are spent by the average user on LinkedIn. So if you want to bring in more talent and leads to your business, you got to be active there too. And out of all the blogging platforms right now, including Blogger and Tumblr, WordPress is the highest ranked on Google. And blogging in general, like, I love doing it myself, but it's very critical for businesses to have a business blog and to be actively writing there and blogging and promoting out their posts, because it is a very important driver of traffic, and it's one of the foundations of SEO in general. And then 50% of shoppers, finally, have made a purchase based on recommendation through a social media network. So if you think that, as far as your brand goes, and you want to increase the sales of your company and really get off and going, then you have to be able to participate and communicate and have a presence on all of these sites. That way, it helps out your brand and you in the long run. So from there, once you create these accounts, what happens next? There was a poll that was taken on Entrepreneur with about 2,714 communicators about how their companies use social media. And we have some of the percentages marked here about how they did that. But once you create accounts with all these different websites and you have them in place and you have a sort of social media department established at your company, you need to be able to have a team that's in place to manage these accounts. They take a lot of time, and you won't be able to do it on the side if you're managing other projects at the same time, and it's not really your forte. So I recommend always employing a social media or a community manager, kind of like what I do, and having a few more associates underneath them, maybe a few interns or just a couple more faces that are in the department. That way they can help out as well. About 42% of companies polled only have one person who works on social media, but about 40 also have 2 or 3, which is pretty good. Whenever you're posting, you want to be frequent and on a daily basis if you can. And about 58% of companies post on social media at least once a day, which is good. Could be a little bit higher, but it's good enough for what it is. The content that you post, it needs to be relevant to the audience that's there. It needs to be engaging and needs to inspire action. So you want to always keep that in mind whenever you're deciding on a link to post, or if you're going to write a blog topic, you need to really consider your audience and what they're looking for and how it can inspire them to share your content with others. The roadblocks that many of these companies say that they have and that prevents them from really being able to work on social media is that they don't have enough time, they don't have enough employees on staff that can help out, and they don't even have enough funding. But there are ways to get around this and to be able to set aside a budget, set aside some time every day to work on it, especially if you hire a manager in place to help out. But above all, the most important thing is that once your accounts are created, you have to remember that social media is a very genuine priority for your company and your brand overall. It's not a fad on its way out. It's been around for a while now, and it's only going to increase with more people joining the sites every day. So once you start, you got to keep it up. You can't just go away for a few months and then come back and be like, oh, well, I kind of forgot about this, or just consider it not to be a priority. So we're going to start off by talking about 5 rules of thumb for engagement for Facebook. Every day you want to post about 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, evening. I like to do 2 whenever it's a little bit slower for like morning and afternoon. But you want to make sure that you're posting at least 2 to 3 times every day and that you're staying relevant in what you post. You're posting around current trends and happenings, and that you're sharing information about from your blog and from other sources out there. You also want to include a picture whenever you're posting as well. Statuses that contain photos have 33% more engagement, and if you can't find a picture, like a tiny little thumbnail that goes with whatever you wrote about that's relevant enough, you can always include an Instagram photo of what's going on behind the scenes. Those are really popular for shares and likes, because then that gets everybody on the staff involved, and then they can all like it and share it and show it off to everybody as a way of saying, hey, this is what I do all day. And it gives your company a little bit more of a human face, too. That there was a time whenever we used to have all these different brands out there, and they were there, but we didn't really know at the time what anybody there looked like or what they did behind the scenes, but now we have a better idea. And it makes the company look more fun and exciting, and you'll want to work there. Whenever you're on Facebook, it's a good idea. If you don't know what to post, if you have nothing to post, and you want to try something out, you can always ask a question. There's a poll feature that you can have about a series of different answers to a question and have people vote and see what they vote on they like the most. It gets everybody involved and engaged, and then they share that with other friends of theirs. And then, as I mentioned earlier, be sure that you showcase your company. If you have any milestones coming up, like an anniversary of how long you've been in business, you want to talk about that, include a little picture or design to go with it. Get your employees and staff liking what you've got on the account there. Include some behind-the-scenes photos and offer up some sneak peeks to big announcements before they happen. On Twitter, you always want to include a link whenever you're tweeting. The link is always going to be your call to action. It's going to be the way that people can click it and find out more about what you do. If it's a picture, they can click it and see it, drop down really quick about what's going on at your company. But you always want to be able to include the link because then that inspires everyone to click it and find out more what's going on with you guys. I'm sure that you've heard about MTs. Those are modified tweets, and more often than not, you should use them as opposed to a retweet. The reason why you want to do that is because modified tweets indicate that the tweet has been edited, the original tweet has been edited anyway, and that you've added your own perspective into it, which makes it a little bit more personalized and easier to relate to as opposed to a retweet, which only takes about all of 5 seconds for you to click the button and it's there. Whenever you're tweeting and you're going to use a hashtag, you need to know what that hashtag stands for and think before you tweet. It's really important to do that because you're only given about 140 characters to work with. So you want the tweet to be as clever as possible, but you also want the hashtag to make sense and fit within the context. And you got to do the research on those. I've seen hashtags in the past that have been used inappropriately, and they have caused a lot of trouble for some of the companies that have used them. Whenever you're responding back to tweets that are made to you or at mentions in general, you want to be as responsive and timely as possible. And if somebody has a complaint, a customer has something that they want to talk about more personally, then encourage them to DM you, which is direct message. They need to be able to follow you, and then they can DM you, and you can talk more about it there. That way you can follow up without everybody seeing it on either of your feeds, if that's what they prefer. And finally, I really am a big fan of avoiding Twitter elitism. I like brands that follow their followers. I know that not everyone does. I know that there are a lot of Twitter accounts that really like to pay more attention to various influencers that are out there or celebrities with huge followings, but I really think it's important that brands follow their customers as much as they can because that's what makes the brand the brand. Coca-Cola does a really good job with that, and so does Starbucks. And once they follow them, they don't stop either, which is awesome. On LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a little bit different because today I'm going to add a little bit about your personal account as well as your company page because there is a real difference between the two, but at the same time you need to be able to have both in order to be successful within your business. So as long as you need to be able to establish a company page and then your own page and know the difference between how you work between the two of them. For the company page, you want to be sure that you are sharing updates about what's going on within your company, much like you would with Facebook, Twitter, and on your blog. But you want to be sure that you're doing it on a fairly professional level because this is a more professional website to work with. On the company pages, they have various sections at the top of the page where you can post more information about any job openings that you have and the services that you offer. And you want to be able to fill out all these sections as much as you possibly can. That way, whenever people go visit your account, they see a very full LinkedIn profile page as opposed to one that's kind of empty and doesn't really tell you anything about the company. Whenever you are on a personal level connecting with various LinkedIn users and you've only met them maybe once or twice before, then whenever you're sending out your connection invitation, you want to personalize it. You want to say hi to the user who's on there, and you want to mention how you met them, and it would be really great to connect here and to continue to stay in touch, as opposed to just sending out the generic invitation that says, I'd like to connect on LinkedIn. which doesn't tell you anything about the person, especially if you've only met them once and you barely remember them. Seek out recommendations as much as you can and be able to fill out your own personal profile as much as possible. They have a little lever on the site that tells you about how much percentage of your profile is filled out, and you really want to strive to get to almost 100% as much as possible. And the more recommendations you have and the more skills you've been endorsed for, the more your profile is going to look attractive to people who want to connect with you and find out more about your company or your brand. Finally, you want to create a PURL, which is a personalized URL for your personal account. This enables you to have linkedin.com/ with your name instead of a series of numbers and letters. And it's pretty easy to create. What you want to do is you want to click on your settings, and then you will click on Edit Your Public Profile. And then in the Your Public Profile URL box, you want to click on Customize Your Public Profile URL link. Type in the last part of your new customized URL. Usually it's your name. And depending on the kind of name that you have, you might also want to include like a middle initial or your middle name as well. If you have a fairly generic name, I do. So I had to change it to Taylor Heather instead of Heather Taylor because somebody else already took Heather Taylor. And then you click Set Custom URL and you're done. You have it ready to go. Whenever you're blogging, and this goes for WordPress, Tumblr, Blogspot, and Blogger, everything, all the different sites with these, you want to make sure that your site is easy to navigate, it's clean, it's tidy, it's not a mess of advertisements and buttons all over the place, and it's easy to read, it has relevant tags and categories in place, and that helps people find articles a little bit faster, find what they're looking for, and in general find other things that they may not know that they're looking for just yet. Whenever you're first writing there and you really don't know what to write about, you want to start bringing on guest bloggers and cross-blogging together whenever you work with a guest blogger, for some anyway. This doesn't work for everyone, but for some guest bloggers, they like to do cross-blogging where you write a post for them and they promote that out, and they write one for you, you promote it out, it helps build a relationship together, and it helps you to be able to have your material seen by a different audience and maybe much bigger than the one that you already have. You want to be able to conduct interviews there, make videos, create podcasts, just have a lot of fun with it. But if you just, it's better to do all of these things than to do nothing at all, or to sit there and think, you know, I'm just going to write about myself all the time, which is why that brings me to my next point, which is avoiding self-promotion. You don't want to talk too much about how awesome and great your company is, because guess what? Nobody wants to sit around and read about how awesome and great your company is all the time, unless you have some more information about what makes your company great and the product that you're trying to advertise, and you want to give it a little bit more heft. Talk about how it's really going to help out people, get some testimonials from people who have used it. That would be a lot better than just sitting around and saying, so we have this new product, and it's amazing, and you should use it. You want to be able to showcase your great information in a conversational tone. Don't include any jargon that's too complicated for people to understand. Don't create blog posts that are super long to the point where you can't really follow it after a few paragraphs. Make it short, but with great information included and as down to earth and relatable as you can. And then also include pictures with your posts as much as possible, but make sure that you have the right to use them beforehand, or if they're coming from someone else, that you have the permission, you can cite the source. Because a Google search to find a picture is not getting permission at all. You want to be sure that if you don't have any pictures on hand that you can use legally, then you can go to a stock image website and buy some there. There's some free sites also, and you can use those. Or you can take some Instagram photos from around the office and use those instead. So it gives your blog a little bit more of a personalized feel. So now that we've talked about how to engage for Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all the different blogging outlets, let's talk about what you should not be doing. You really want to watch your spelling and your grammar and your hashtag and @ mentions, and make sure that no flubs that you have go uncorrected. Don't misspell constantly. People pick up on that. It's not very attractive, and If you do it all the time, then somebody's really going to wonder who's running the show on your site. Whenever you're hashtagging, it's always good to include a hashtag. I'm not going to say that it's bad. Please don't hashtag every single word that's there, including irrelevant ones or adding more that don't have anything to do with what you're talking about, but you're adding them because they're known to get more traction. So keep your hashtags semi on the minimalist side if you can. Just don't do all the words. Don't pull a disappearing act. I talked about that earlier. Whenever you create an account and then you go away from it and then you come back several months later and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. I need to update this. Once you've got your social media accounts in place, once you have your blog created, you need to update it on a daily, if not near daily basis as much as possible. Don't argue with people on Twitter in public. You wouldn't want to do that on your personal account, and you definitely don't want to do it on your brand account either, because people do notice, and arguments will be screen capped. They'll be shared around. It's not going to make you look very attractive. So be courteous, be respectful, and just don't fight with anybody. And please do not brag all the time on Twitter or Facebook or any other site in general, or humble brag either. Humble bragging is whenever it's a self-promotion from where the promoter thinks that they're being subliminally bragging about themselves in the context of a humble statement or complaint where, for example, if somebody says, oh, I just got back from vacation and I'm really, really tired. I think I need to take some more days off. Just don't brag in general. Avoid the humble brags too. So finally, we're going to answer the very big question that it's been a while since you've created an account with all of your different social media outlets. And it's been a while since you had the blog up, but your brand pages and your fans are not growing fast enough. So what do? As a personal rule of thumb, I do not like to refer to anybody who is following me or a company otherwise as a follower. I feel like that's very impersonal, and it doesn't really make the people who follow feel special. I would much prefer saying fans or thinking of them as friends in some cases as well. So if you just think of it like that, then it'll be a little bit easier to tailor some of your content so that it's more relatable to everybody. You need to remember that social media is not a magic wand. There's not going to be millions of followers that show up, or fans in general, unless you are a celebrity who just created an account. You won't have a ton of people coming after you just yet, so you want to be able to take into consideration your brand's needs and goals, and you might want more or less social media sites targeted to what you do as a result. You know, if Facebook isn't working out for you, then, well, I wouldn't really recommend getting rid of Facebook. But if LinkedIn isn't working out for you, then maybe you want to put that one on the back burner for a while and then focus more on a Pinterest account or making a YouTube account. The whole thing with social media is that it is a long-term marketing strategy for building brand recognition and getting exposure with clients, attracting leads, promoting events out, and then generating sales. But it's not just your sole marketing strategy. You should be able to have some sort of other strategies in place, whether that's PR or advertising on print or online, or even just a marketing department. You want to be patient whenever it comes to growth. It will be a little bit slow at first. It might be slow for a while, actually, but just be patient, because whenever you're building a site with great content, they will come eventually. You just want to make sure that you have the foundation in place. As far as your audience goes, if your pages are not growing fast enough, then you really need to consider your audience once more. Who are they? What do they want? What are they looking for? And what are they expecting to find out of your site? So look into your audience a little bit more whenever you're trying to figure out what's going on here. And then also consider contributing with other outside blogging outlets to grow your own brand name as well as your own name in the process. And then that will be shared around. More people find out about you. You'll have more exposure online. It's always a good thing to contribute online. I love it. I think it's great. And then stay committed. I've read once that an inconsistent effort leads to inconsistent results. 100% of your game every time that you're on all these different sites. It will pay off eventually. It may be a little bit slow, but as long as you stick with it and you stay focused and you know what you're going to do and how you're going to drive people to what you are advertising and talking about with your brand, then stick with it. My personal social media mottos as a closing for this webinar is that every single time you want to focus on quality over quantity. I know that it's popular for a lot of people to just want to write for the sake of writing, blog for the sake of blogging, put up a sketch just because they feel that they need to fill a daily quota. But you really want to focus on the quality of the work that's going up and how people can engage with that. Always be able to engage others as well. Whenever somebody has a question, don't leave it unanswered. Always answer as quickly as you can. Conduct some polls if you want to know more about the customers. Put up some Instagram photos of what's going on behind the scenes at your company. That way people have more of a chance to check you out. And then also have fun with these sites. They were not around whenever we were kids, and I certainly never imagined that I would be working in this field either, but I am, and I'm excited about that. So have fun with it whenever you're on the sites and enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And that's the conclusion of the webinar.
Thank you, Heather. We will now begin the question and answer portion. If you have any questions, please type them into the question box on your control panel and then press send. We'll give everyone a few minutes to type their questions in. Here's one. Do you have any tips on how to get people to engage, let's say on Facebook, with comments back to posts?
Could you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
Do you have any tips on how to encourage people to engage and comment back on posts?
Well, I'm a big fan of the photos. If you can post a picture, I think that that's always really helpful. Pictures are engaging for us. We're very visual people in general, and we always like to see something that we can start talking about, but picture is always really good. If you want to get people to make a comment or leave a like or anything like that, I always recommend doing that. It just has to be something that's aesthetically pleasing. That's important. You want something that looks nice, and you also want something that can inspire as well. So I think that if you post a picture, you can't really go wrong with that. And they're also really easy to share and show off.
Great, thank you. What are the top social media sites for service businesses? For example, a yoga studio or fitness club. Are things like Pinterest really relevant?
Yes, Pinterest is very relevant because you can really engage a lot of people there and be able to share the content of your own as well as from others. And you can create a board on Pinterest that's very rich with content. It has a whole different bunch of pictures. It has a lot of information and links back to your site and what you do. And then you can help pin the content and have that repinned on other sites as well. As far as businesses go, you really need a Facebook account. I've said that before. You definitely need a Twitter account. And you do want to strive to have a LinkedIn account. It depends on what kind of business you are, but I really think you can't go wrong with having a Foursquare too if you have the kind of company that people are constantly going in and out of. So they want to check in and say that they've been there. I think that that's really important. So I recommend those offhand, as well as Instagram. It's more new to the scene, but it's still really good to have, especially whenever you have people coming out of your business all the time. They're taking pictures, and then they're sharing it, and then other people see the pictures, and they want to know where that came from. That'll inspire them to find out more.
Great, thank you. Do you think you should have separate messaging for platforms like Facebook and Twitter, or is it more effective when you use them together?
I like to keep it separate. I think that the audiences on every site are a little bit different, and I really like being able to go to different sites and see different kinds of content on every single one. I don't know how I would feel about people who are messaging or just sharing the same thing over and over on every site, I feel like that's not very good to engage with customers with, or to even have that shared with other people.
Thank you. As a new business that is just in the startup phase, we do not have a lot of money to spend on a full-time marketing person or team. What do you recommend to get the most out of our precious time and money?
Oh, goodness. Okay, well, normally I'm very much in favor of hiring a full-time person to work on it if you can, but if you can't, I would definitely recommend having an intern in place, but you need to make sure that you have a strategy in place before you hire somebody about what you're expecting and your goals are for your social media department and your company in general. That way, whenever you do hire someone, you can sit them down and you can talk to them about it and you say, okay, this is what we want to do here, here, and here, and this is how you can help out. And it's possible, if you can have the internship last a little bit longer than just one semester and keep them on for a little while longer so that they can keep up the same consistent voice within the company, then I think that's really important. Overall, though, you want to have a strategy in place first, and then you want to be able to identify what your voice will be like.
Thank you. Is it better to post at the same time every day or to post more sporadically?
Well, there are recommended times of the day where you should be posting. It's a little bit different for everybody, but I tend to post on a more sporadic note because I have different stories that will come up. Our company gets featured on a lot of different outlets. Some of them run a little bit earlier or later depending on what coast they're on. But I like to post sporadically more often than not because then people aren't expecting to see a certain post from you at certain hours of the day every day. And then it allows room for more spontaneity at the same time because then if something does come up that's pretty cool and neat, you want to highlight that, but you're already scheduled, so to speak, to highlight something else, then you can be able to push that out of the way for what's happening that's more relevant.
Wonderful, thank you. It looks as if that's all the questions for now. Feel free to type in any last-minute questions if you have them. If not, then we will conclude this presentation. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and special thanks to Heather for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you for having me, and everybody for listening in.
A recording of this webinar will be available online at www.mbawomen.org/webinar-recording. With that, we will conclude today's program. Have a great day, everyone. You may now disconnect.